Hey kids, this is Aaron from the podcast that wouldn't die, and Kevin and I use Zencastr. You think you're better than us, that you're using something else? You're wrong. Zencastr's the place to be. Who are you to deny it?
It's now super easy to record a podcast with Zencastr. Log in using your browser and start recording a high-quality podcast right away. Record studio-quality sound and up to 4K video with your guests. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use our code DIEHARD and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. We want you to have the same experiences we do for all our podcasting and content needs. It's time for you to share your story.
Only a fool would give up a chance for a 30% discount.
In the town of Stepford, the men are getting exactly what they always dreamed of, perfect wives. And the dream is becoming a nightmare for the Stepford Wives. A very modern suspense story from the author of Rosemary's Baby.
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast that wouldn't die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
Hey bro, what's up?
What's up? This week, we're discussing the horror. Some people call it a satire or a comedy even. It is the original 1975 classic, The Stepford Wives, starring Catherine Ross, Paula Prentice. You got Tina Louise. It's an
Tina
all-star
Louise. For you younger people, she was on a show called Gilligan's Island.
When I saw this for the first time and I saw Tina Louise was in it, I almost fell out of my chair because in my mind, she dropped dead after the final episode of Gilligan's Island. Not true.
It's like your teachers. They don't exist outside the classroom.
Well, I mean, go even further. Whenever they did the crappy kind of reunion movies, you know, the Gilligan meets the Harlem Globetrotters or whatever the hell it is, they didn't have Tina Louise. Yes, they did like 3 reunion movies of Gilligan's Island, and they recast Ginger Grant in each of them. She refused to come back. She said that she thought Gilligan's Island ruined her career. Boom.
Maybe.
So there you go.
Did she have a career before Gilligan's Island?
She did some shit.
It seems to me that if you're a successful Hollywood film star, especially during that time, you would not be doing television if you had better offers.
Fair.
I think it's the Andrew McCarthy syndrome.
And I have to say, Andrew McCarthy had more hits than you remember. He had Mannequin. He had
which is crap.
Weekend at Bernie's. He had some hits after, he stopped doing, Pretty in Pink. He had a few things. It wasn't total black hole. He had more than Rob Lowe until West Wing. That's for goddamn sure.
You're assuming I like Rob Lowe. I like Andrew McCarthy less. I never liked Andrew McCarthy. I never thought he was a good actor. Now give me some Spader. That's what I'm about.
You like good Pretty in Pink level Spader is what you want,
dude. I like Robert California Spader. I like
you like
Spader.
Old Spader,
dude.
Spader.
Lies, Sex, and Videotape Spader. You give me Spader 24/7.
What'd you call it?
Close.
Live
Sex, Lies, and Videotape.
Sweet Jesus. Each week on the podcast that would die, we discuss guilty pleasures and forgotten classics of the horror and sci-fi genres with a comedic twist. Aaron, how's it going? What's the latest?
I'm a Sour Patch. I would like to murder everyone. But if I can just hold on for 2 more weeks,
or 1 more day,
I will breathe sweet freedom. I'm ready for vacation to begin.
So you have 2 weeks and then that's it?
Yeah.
I got like 4 weeks. How you like them apples? That's piss poor. It's like a nightmare. Now,
that's a nightmare.
The reason why is because I don't start school until the end of August. Other people are rolling in there like August 5th or something and starting school.
11th.
See, so there's no free ride. Do you want to start early and end early, or do you want to start late and end late? No
I
questions.
want to go in a made-up year-round program where I have like a month off in the summer, but I have a month off like in October, or I have October through Christmas off. How about that?
This was October through Christmas. Okay, I don't know about that schedule, but when I was first teaching, they had year-round school in Long Beach. So I would go. I'm trying to remember what the schedule was. It was September, October, November, and then I'd be off from Thanksgiving through New Year's, and then
As
I would
the
work.
Lord intended.
Right, it was 3 months on, 1 month off, and it was great until you got around to summer and everyone else is going off for 2.5 months, and you're like, oh. So I'm in class in August. I'm in.
Dude, I would take it. I would
Right.
take it. Let's burn up their air conditioning, not these bills. Because as we learn, it's not always fun to vacation at the premium time. I
True.
would rather be able to go travel like in the fall.
Absolutely. No, it was good because you never really got burned out. You never really. There was always a month-long vacation on the
Dude,
horizon.
sign me up. Where do I sign up? Do I have to
Yeah.
move somewhere? Do I have to kill someone? Let's go.
In any case, you're in, is what you're saying. Whatever they
I'm
ask
in.
for, that's what
Whatever
you'll
it
bring.
takes. Whatever
Interesting.
it takes. Hell yeah.
Sweet Jesus. They got rid of it because it interfered with, like, because I was teaching at a K-8 school, and it interfered with the kids who wanted to participate in high school sports, essentially. Because the summer before your freshman year of high school, you might be going out for the football team, for
Right.
example, and you're missing all those practices. So
It only works if all the schools are in alignment.
correct, it does, and it didn't, and it's very sad. Anyway,
That's why we need to get rid of high school sports. Boom.
I agree. I agree. Why don't we reel it back in, Aaron, and give us your 30-second synopsis of The Stepford Wives, 1975?
Here is the story. There are some men who really don't like women, except for certain pleasures, a home cooked meal, a clean house, and children. Otherwise, who gives a shit? So they made themselves a little community where they can get rid of pesky wives. They're attractive, but don't worry, they can also make you a wife if you don't happen to be able to pull one in. I don't know how much that costs. But anyway, there's a way in this little town. You join the club, and they fix the problem with your sassback wife.
It's interesting because it was based on a book written by Ira Levin, who also wrote Rosemary's Baby. So it's
Exactly.
interesting.
They're
It's
the same men in both
right.
stories.
100%. It's interesting that a guy would write two books, both ostensibly horrors, right? Where the central character is a wife or a mother, right?
Right.
Who is betrayed by the guy they married.
Yeah.
Betrayed. So that's a thing.
Betrayed over ambition. Yeah. Ambition, money, they're sold out.
Right.
Because
Well, that was
that's the priority.
that was the that was Rosemary's Baby.
I
He
think it's
gave
the
her
same in
up.
this one.
In this one, it's not ambition so much as like forced gender roles is the way I read it. What's interesting is that when this movie came
Why would
out,
he join the club with people he doesn't really like unless he's getting something for it? They're
this is what he's
offering
getting.
him,
This is what
yeah,
he's getting.
a
He's getting
compliant wife.
100%. That's what it is. She's not going to come to you and say, "Hey, honey, watch the kids for 10 minutes while I do my shit with the photography," anymore.
No,
Those days
no.
are over. She's not
Not
going
gonna
to bitch and
bitch, not gonna
complain.
moan, not gonna complain about why did we move out in the sticks, that stuff.
Right. You can fire the maid. You can fire Nettie the maid, and now your wife is also the maid. Boom. That happened to Tina Louise. So there you go.
Nettie the maid was the mother from E.T.
Dee Wallace. Like in a blink of you'll miss it moment. Dee Wallace, also later in The Hills Have Eyes.
I didn't even recognize her. I saw it in the credits,
recognize
and I was like, "What?"
Yep. I knew she was in it. Forgot. I was like, "Oh, there's a maid in this." When the maid appears and goes later after the movie, I'm like, "Oh yeah, I was supposed to pay attention to that." I was like, "Not important." So what I was going to say is this movie, people like feminists at the time were protesting this movie. They had a huge issue with this movie,
I
which
think it's a feminist movie.
that's what I thought. That's what I
Yeah.
thought. They thought that there were glorified. Maybe it's the case of, spoiler alert, the bad guys win. Does that kind of change things, or is that kind of
Well,
a
isn't that true?
right?
Isn't it true? A lot of the times. I mean, didn't we learn that for A Promising Young Woman? Didn't we
Mhm.
learn? Except for that shitty Hollywood ending they threw on at the last minute.
I liked it.
That's the reality.
Right. That's the thing. And I mean, it's kind of interesting to talk about it because they did a bunch of sequels, like straight to
Yeah.
TV sequels, including the Stepford Husbands in the 90s, before they actually did the remake with Nicole Kidman and Matthew Broderick and Glenn Close, Christopher Walken. Bette Midler played Bobby Markowitz, the next door neighbor.
And it
People
wasn't
hated
better.
it. People
Yeah, it wasn't
hated it.
better. Yeah.
People hate it. But here's the thing. The original Stepford Wives movie was a flop.
That's
Did not
interesting.
do well. Did
I
not do
think it's
well.
good. I really
People,
like it. And then you could say in the greater Stepford universe, you have things like Get Out. You
yes.
have what was the other movie? Don't Worry, Darling.
Don't worry, darling. There's also
Those are
kind of
all Stepford related films too.
absolutely, and you can even compare it to like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, where you're
It
turning
is.
around and your friends are different than they were yesterday. And what the hell? No one
Except you
believes me.
wanted your friend different, so you replaced your friend.
Oh, totally. Totally. I mean, this movie is interesting because first it was a book. Then William Goldman, who was the famous screenwriter who wrote Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid, he wrote the screenplay, the original screenplay for this movie. His big complaint, he felt the director ruined it. He ruined it because his attitude was like, if guys are going to all this trouble, then after the procedure, the women should look like playmates. They should look like
Well,
Playboy
they
bunny.
did. Suddenly, Catherine, whatever her name, had huge tits.
She went from kind of a B minus to a B plus. Let's be honest. The issue was
she had sheer things just to show those tatas off at the end at the
they did do
fembot.
that.
Yeah.
Catherine Ross appreciated the fake boobs as well. She's like, I liked them. But that was the issue, is that the director cast his wife to play the first Stepford wife we meet. They've just moved in, and the woman shows up, the brunette lady,
The Van
with the
Zants.
casserole, the Van Zants. And his issue was she's an attractive woman, but she was like in her 40s.
Yeah.
She
They
was
would all be the Tina Louises. They would all be Tina Louise plus.
That was my issue. Is like, honestly, I thought the women who weren't the Stepford wives were already like far more attractive than the Stepford wives women. You had Tina Louise,
Why
Ginger.
wouldn't you just get a divorce and just have whatever sex robot you want?
And that there was a sad moment in this movie. She's sitting down talking to the other wives, half of whom are Stepford wives, and she says, "I don't think my husband ever loved me. I think I just had the right look." He was like a TV producer or something.
Right.
It's a thing.
Oh yeah, he was that guy who was king of 70s TV.
He was Tom from the fucking Jeffersons.
Yeah.
He was the white.
Who knew he was such a misogynist lying underneath there?
Absolutely. Oh, we're having technical difficulties.
I guess. The fembot is loose.
So they changed it from, because it was supposed to be a lot of like mini skirts, and push-up bras, and they kind of waved that away and replaced it with kind of high collars and big hats.
Which I have to say, I do have some pictures of Mom in the similar outfits.
Oh, I'm sure. But the idea is that these are supposed to be the sex fantasies of these guys.
Maybe
They
their
kind of
sex fantasy is to F their mother, because that's what they created, big-titted mommies.
Well, and I'm going to say it again. I said it in the last episode. Paula Prentice is a fox. She was the wacky neighbor, Bobby Marco.
Dude, I wanted her to be my friend.
Hell yes!
And it shows you how short Catherine Ross is. I always assumed she was 6 feet tall. She is a leprechaun next to Paula Prentice.
Paula Prentice is tall. She's like 5'10", 5'11". So,
yeah, she's probably about 5'7", and Catherine Ross is like as a hobbit.
For real. But again, Bobby Marco was wearing like nothing but like bare midriffs and like little like tied tube tops. And I was like, what's wrong? What's wrong? She's fun. She's hilarious. She's foxy. But they said later in the movie, they kind of make a point to say like, yeah, but the house is a goddamn shithole. We never see the house being gross. She just goes to the house later and it's like, she's like scrubbing the counters and shit. She's like, Bobby, you lived in squalor yesterday. Something's wrong.
By you were happy with your squalor.
You were. Now here's a question. And this is a legitimate question. If you are married to somebody who's like, hon, you can stay at home. Okay. Now, if I'm married to a wealthy lady who's got a fancy job, she's like, you know what? You stay home with the kids. What is my responsibility as a stay-at-home spouse? That's my question. Is it wrong to say?
I mean, honestly,
day, clean the goddamn kitchen.
Dig. I mean, these kids are off at school, but having little kids at home all day long and try to maintain a house, that's a different situation.
That's fair. That's if you're wiping diapers and shit, that's a full-time job. No question.
You're up all night. These husbands are clearly not the ones that are getting up to help you with a midnight feeding.
Oh, hell no. Hell no, they're not.
Hell no. But you'd be the Walking Dead.
If you've got school-age kids and you're putting them on the bus and waving as they go away, what are your responsibilities at that point? Is it wrong for your spouse to be like, you know what? This has been in the sink for a fucking week. Can you handle this for me? Or is that rude?
You know what? These motherfuckers are rich.
Yep.
I'm getting a maid.
Fair.
It is a status for a certain level of men and women for the wife not to work. It's a status symbol. It's a status symbol. So absolutely. I'm asking for a maid. If we're talking that, you know, you're working in a factory doing extra shifts so I can stay home with the kids, then I can say, much to my chagrin, I guess I got to clean the fucking house. But that is not the case here.
If you're working in the mines or you're like out in the forest chopping down trees.
Yeah, if I'm taking in a laundry to help make ends meet, that's a different situation.
If you're Charlie Bucket's mother, then
if you're married to an attorney who can afford this mansion and he's busting out, he said he's working 80 hours a week, we're getting a maid.
And I guess this is a different
simple as
time. This is kind of where things start to change. Where conceivably there was a time, not in my lifetime, where you could have a one income family and not have the guy has to be a rocket scientist or a brain surgeon, just kind of a normal job, right? And you can survive on one income. Okay.
It's true.
That doesn't exist anymore. That doesn't exist anymore.
Not so much. Not so much.
So
that's always the curse, you know. It's like once families make more money, then everything else also goes up. Mm-hmm. That was the curse, like after the war, when everybody wanted a job. Why not make more money? That just meant that rent costs more, houses cost more. It just, as your income rises, so does your bills.
Absolutely.
You know?
So we kind of jumped
So what you're asking me, if you're my husband, I'm like, brother, we're getting a housekeeper, if not a cook.
A cook as well. How about a butler on the stage? A chauffeur. Let's get
I
the
don't need a
whole thing.
chauffeur. This is not Downton Abbey, but I need a live-in or at least a daily housekeeper. I want somebody here all day long.
All day long. So not just come and like
Yeah.
clean the house once a week.
Where did
But, like,
Alice go? Where did Alice go? If the
wanting to-
Bradys can do it,
Right.
so can I, motherfucker.
Mike Brady was an architect. His wife stayed at home. They had 6 goddamn kids and a living maid. Okay,
And none of the kids were just playing in diapers, throwing poo. They were all like older fucking kids. Half of them were in high school.
Absolutely.
And she had a full-time maid cook.
That's true.
I don't know what Mrs. Brady did with her time. I'm guessing PTA, women's club, reading a book, doing whatever the she pleased. Because she got on the Mike Brady train
100%.
and held on for dear life.
She brought 3 kids with her too. She's like, I'm unemployable. I got 3 kids. What say we get married and I'd be a stay-at-home mom?
Quite frankly, instead of bringing cousin Oliver, I think it would have been funny if, whoops, here comes number 7.
Whoops.
That'd be the Doherty family.
That was the Doherty family. 100% it was.
The Doherty bunch.
So let me ask you, okay, let's reel this back in. Do you remember when the first time was you saw Stepford Wives?
No, I probably saw it on TV like 1,000 years ago.
I actually saw the remake in 2004 first. I saw the remake in 2004 first. I didn't see this version in all its splendor. Maybe 4 years ago was the first time I saw it all the way through. And I realized how dark. This movie is dark. It is. It is cray. It is crazy. Let's jump right into the highlights, Aaron. What are your thoughts? Start with you.
I have one more thing to say. I was on the Ticker Talker.
Go for it.
And I was listening to this man, and he was asking men. He had been in this conversation. Men, do you like women? Do you enjoy the company of women? We're not talking about your mother, your sister, or the people you're sleeping with.
Right.
Do you enjoy the company of women? Because there are people who do not.
Who do not.
There are 100%. Men who do not. And the next day he flipped it. And then I had to think about that. It's not like
Right.
Do I enjoy the company of men? Do I seek men out? I don't. I don't seek them out.
Well, there are people who
and I have reasons. I have reasons, but I just kicked my stupid camera.
I have reasons. It's a different
situation. I have lots of reasons for that.
Yes.
I am not mean to men, but if I walk into a bar and I'm the only woman there, I'm sliding back out.
I understand.
I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
I like the company of men, but I will say it sounds weird when I say it like that.
I have always relied on the kindness of men.
But if I'm being truthful, throughout my formative years, most of my friends were women. Maybe it's because I was a teacher. When I was young and single, most of my friends were female. Just now, I know girls who prefer the company of dudes. They think guys are more laid back. They're not hung up on whatever.
No, I have a theory about that. One, they don't have a daddy at home. So they enjoy that attention. Also, the thing about being friends with women is you have to have verbal skills. And not all women have those skills. Yep. So if you're just hanging out with guys, guarantee some of them want to sleep with you. 2, you don't have to carry a conversation.
It's true.
If you're dealing with women, you got to be able to talk.
It's all talking. It's
all talking.
It's all talking with the ladies. 100%. With guys,
100%.
Some grunting every now and again. I'll hang out with my male friends, and then my wife will say, like, so how's their family doing? And I'm like, I have no idea. We didn't talk about anything personal.
100%. I would say
We
that.
don't
I'm
do
like,
that.
oh, his mom had surgery or his brother just died. Oh, he didn't say anything about that.
No.
Well, I'm telling you now.
Right.
I like hanging out with men who like hanging out with women because they have the good verbal skills. You could have a conversation about anything. I remember my early days of online dating when it's just, I'm putting the phone on speaker because he's talking about baseball and I don't know, give a shit.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm doing the fucking dishes while someone is just jibber jabbing because you think that this is what I want to talk about.
Right.
Okay.
Interesting. Okay.
Anyway,
Back
so
to
the movie is dark as shit. So again, like I said before, this is a guy who doesn't respect his wife. He thinks she's hot. I don't think he really gives a darn what's going on inside her noggin. She has produced the correct number of children. As she complains at the beginning, you didn't ask me about moving to the country till after you decided to move to the country.
Right.
You didn't tell me that you showed me this house after you'd already put an offer into it. And the
Right.
next thing,
The
he
men's
mentions
club.
joining the club.
I'm thinking
And
about it.
by the end of the first session, he's already sold her out. You can
Right.
tell. He goes to the first meeting, he sheds a few tears that night.
I think that was interesting to see that because he's down in the dark drinking bourbon or something and crying.
He's
Right?
weighing the odds, and he's already made up his mind.
Right. She comes to him and he says, "I love you. I love you. You know I love you, don't you?" But you're right. It's funny because on one hand, he's conflicted, which is bizarre. Right? If you're like, I'm trying to decide if I should let them murder my wife.
It's not like they were going to get a divorce or anything.
No. Right.
It wasn't like they're drunk and throw it. I mean, who's afraid of Virginia Woolf shit going on? None of that's happening.
It seemed
but he's
like
ready.
100%. It seemed like they had a pretty typical relationship, right? Occasional disagreements, right? Nothing ridiculous, right?
I thought she was very tolerant. I would have been. Aaron would have been saying a lot more.
100%.
First of all, if I hear you already put a down payment on a house, I would have been like, record scratch. I would deny that moving into that house just out of spite. On principle. What the f*** do you mean you put an offer on a house? Right. You made all these f***ing decisions without me.
Right.
I'm not moving.
Well, and this is a thing that people did at that time where they would work in Manhattan but live in Connecticut. Essentially,
it was I mean, isn't that what Lucy and Ricky did?
Absolutely.
They moved to Connecticut.
It's a thing that because you had to reach a certain level of income that you could afford to move out, right?
Right.
Otherwise, because if you live in the city, you probably can't afford to ever buy. You're just a renter. So this is a status of now I'm buying a fancy house in the country, essentially. But I want to go back. So he's crying about this stuff, but when push comes to shove, there's never a time where he's pumping the brakes, right? He cries about it one night, and the rest. She goes, "I'm gonna go walk the dogs." He's immediately reaching for the phone to call the boys to come do some shit, right?
Well, and they made the first thing they did was get rid of the dog.
They did. That was, and there's no explanation. It's just suddenly the dog is missing, and then you see the dog in the back of a truck.
Yeah.
No explanation. I thought that was an interesting choice.
Because the dog's gonna know. So he's replaced with a Disney animatronic dog.
Well, that's the crazy. So we meet the guys in the Meds Club, and the head dude is an unmarried guy, probably in his late 50s. They call him Diz because he worked for Disney, creating the animatronic Pirates of the Caribbean and some shit, right? And I guess we're supposed to think that all the husbands kind of have some kind of ability or skill that allows them to contribute to the making, because they never tell us this is a robot. They never tell us, oh, we're making robots. And what's interesting is in the book, they don't tell you anything. They don't explain anything. It's just
That's probably better,
it's
honestly. It
it
makes you
ends
wonder.
right. It ends with Catherine Ross's character getting like theoretically murdered by the Bobby robot. And then next chapter, now there's a Catherine Ross walking around, a new compliant, wife and mother and blah 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 blah. So it's interesting.
I wonder, couldn't they have like lobotomized them? But I guess you're not going to have a lot of energy. Because I think the idea that suddenly we have this level of robots is a little strange.
Right. Well, she was constantly driving by like these factories that are like electronics factories and stuff like that.
Right.
Clearly it's like they are robots. They're basically sex
Yeah.
robots. Is because later she
Sex and
stabs
cleaning robots.
sex and cleaning. Right? So that it's like
I
one
mean,
guy
when the
records the
kids grow
voice
up, don't they think mom's weird?
and she never ages.
And she never ages. How about that?
Right? So there's the artist who's drawing pictures of her face ostensibly to make sure that the face is just right. There's a guy who records, she has to like say certain words into a microphone. What's funny is the guy who had the stutter, who was the guy saying, "Oh, I want to record your voice." He was actually an unofficial cast member of Saturday Night Live for the first 5 years, George Coe. Whenever they needed an old man in any of the
Oh
original
my
Saturday Night Live
God.
episodes. Yeah, isn't that
That's
weird?
interesting.
uh, but yeah, so evidently they're all the dudes are in on it. All the dudes seemingly contribute something to this. And what's interesting is we first meet all the Stepford wives, and all they want to talk about is like cleaning products and shit, like long, drawn out. I use Easy On, which is not a real product. I guess it's Easy
No.
Off. It's the,
Easy off.
and the only with housewives that are still normal is Tina Louise, who moved into town 4 months ago, right, or something along those lines. Bobby Marco, the Spitfire down the road, moved in
Right.
2 months ago, and now Catherine Ross, who moved in a month ago. And it's like, whenever they hit that 4 month period or whatever it is, the husband says, "Hey, we're going to go out of town for a special, for a special weekend." And when they return, they're pod people, basically.
I have to guess that this husband premeditated all this.
Ooh, interesting. So he knew what he was getting
Because,
into.
right, because clearly there's other people in this town that are not pods,
Correct.
that are not fembots. It just happened too fast. The day they moved in, he's going to the men's club meeting. I feel like he knew ahead of time.
Maybe so, right? Maybe so.
Yeah.
But it's interesting they talked about, because they do kind of clap back where it's like they try to get a meeting because they have the men's club. So Catherine Ross is like, we should have a women's club where we get together and talk about shit and just hang out and blah blah blah. But none
Right.
of the Stepford women are interested, and the only reason they show up is because Catherine Ross tells the dude with the microphone, "I'm not going to do any of this microphone shit. Maybe if you convince those your wives to come hang out with us, then I'll record the stuff." So then next day, 4 Stepford wives show up, boom, and have no interest
So
in
what
any
would
of
have
it.
happened if she never recorded it?
Right? I don't know. I don't know.
It's all very strange. And it's also interesting that she had no living family members. She tells the psychiatrist that later.
Who
So
was the
we
most
assume,
understanding psychiatrist in the world, by the way?
absolutely, I totally believe you. I totally believe you.
This wasn't Charles Grodin.
Yeah, Charles Grodin. Oh Lord, I would have let me tell you this: the minute I see the kids aren't there, I'm out, because I'm not. The kids are not in danger. You're in danger, sweet tits. Get the out of there.
I think we're supposed to think, and we see this in horror movies sometimes, where the person's just like, I give up. I can't fight it anymore. Everywhere I turn, everybody's already been changed. My husband's against me. My kids, I don't know where they are. I guess mama, Jesus, take me
Then
home.
it's ready or not. Go find a place to hide until the storm's over. I'd be hiding in a crack. You don't know where I am.
But she goes to the psychiatrist because her husband basically says you have to go to a psychiatrist because you're crazy with all this stuff. And he says, I know a good one. She's like, F you. If I'm going, I'm going to find somebody. And she finds one. And the greatest psychiatrist in the world, because usually they don't offer opinions. They're just like, and why do you feel that way? Interesting. Let me write this in the book. She very early on, she's like, you know what? Grab your kids, hit the road. Go ahead. Just go somewhere. Just drive. Just drive.
That was a little ridiculous. Here, you know what also is ridiculous?
Please.
Why are you fighting with your wife when you know that she's going to be dead in 2 days? Why not say, you're right, honey, give me 4 months or something, and let me finish up some business and we're out.
Right.
Love you.
Well, that's what he started to do. Well, early on, that's what he was going through, because he was like, she's like, I just want to move. He's like, okay. I'm in the middle of some shit here, but in August we can move. No problem.
Yeah, no problem. Start looking.
Telling her some bullshit.
Yeah.
Because you're right. Instead of coming home, the kids are missing and you've been drinking. Honey, you go up into your room and lay down.
You've been bad. Get on up there. Take a nap.
Take a nap.
You got fire in your head.
There's also that interesting little non sequitur scene where they're like, Bobby is like convinced that there's some shit in the water, which I guess was a real thing. The Texas tranquilizer. That actually happened. You can Google.
Okay. So that's what that's based on.
Yes. That in Texas, in a small Texas town, there was some kind of chemical that accidentally leaked in the water, and it basically tranquilized the population. So there was like no crime. Like,
that would, would have been interesting if they'd referenced that.
What do you mean?
That would have been interesting. Because then I would have been like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
She told exactly what happened.
About the Texas tranquilizer?
Yes.
Oh, I missed that.
Sweet Jesus. But so she's like, the only chemist I know was my old boyfriend from college, whose name was Raymond Chandler for some reason.
Yeah.
Right?
That's ridiculous. That was ridiculous.
So she goes and...
It is a mystery, though.
It was a mystery. He tests the water, and it's just like, yeah, there's just a lot of water in your water, kind of thing.
Your water's wet.
But there was that moment where he's like, so are you happy? And she's like, yeah, I'm happy. And he's like, me too. And then he writes something on the note and passes it to her. I'm not happy either. So it was like,
let's go. So she already had a place to go.
100%. Call Chandler, the successful chemist, and go live with him. But it was not to be.
Let's go.
C'est la vie.
Yeah. You haul up in there. You get one of those fancy lawyers. You make sure that nobody knows where you are staying, and get those kids back the legal way.
100%. So what the kids are missing, she bonks her husband on the head with a fireplace poker, goes to the men's club because she figures the kids will be there. And she
should have given him a couple of whacks with that.
That was the scene that was crazy, where finally there's Diz. He's been waiting for her all this time. And she's got the fireplace poker, and he basically says some shit, which I guess it comes back to, it's all bullshit. But he says something like, you've got us all wrong. It's great for your husband, but it's great for you too. Just
how?
Right. Bullshit.
I'm clearly dead.
Right.
So
we have no more problems if you're dead in the ground, I guess. No more cleaning the counters.
And quite frankly, the end was confusing because when the fembot basically his job is to kill you, right? But as we see, these things are fragile as hell. She stabbed Paul Prentice, and who immediately broke.
Starts wigging out, right?
So with that poker, start wailing the shit out of that thing.
Well, because he took away the poker from her.
Well,
He
then
walked
she's
up.
an idiot and she
Right.
deserves to die. She should
She
have
was kind of
whacked him as soon as.
100%. That's what I was waiting for her to do. But what's interesting, like you said, they're fragile. Earlier in the movie, Mrs. Van Zant gets in a minor fender bender in the Safeway parking lot, and she's like glitching out and crazy. It was like, you need to you need to take these back to the drawing board. If like literally a minor fender bender puts you on the fritz immediately. So
And they took her off to the factory to repair it, and still the next day, I'll just die if I don't get this recipe. I'll just die if I don't get this
right,
recipe.
right. It was creepy. The final reveal, and I remember watching this a couple years ago, not knowing how it ended, because the only ending I remember was the Nicole Kidman movie, which ends kind of funny and everything's fine and don't you worry about it. Those bastard husbands, they're gonna have to they're gonna have to do the dishes for a while, something along those lines.
Good God. Maybe I need to rewatch that because I don't remember that. So in the
Uh,
Nicole Kidman, she doesn't get killed?
in the Nicole Kidman they talk about it's a microchip that they put in your brain, basically. And the reveal is it's not Christopher Walken at all. He was actually a robot. It was actually Glenn Close's plan to do this. And then
Oh, that's
she's
right.
they short it out and everybody's fine after that. But that movie like kind of went further where they're like all of the Stepford Wives were at one point highly successful career people. Like one of them
Right.
was like a Supreme Court justice or some shit.
Well,
Where
that's
this
Don't Worry, Darling, too.
Correct. This one they didn't have that. This one they went from regular ordinary housewives to now they are sex and cleaning robots essentially.
Yes.
Is
Yes.
basically is the difference. But so she walks into a room. The guy basically leads her to the room, and there is the new and improved Catherine Ross brushing her hair. And honestly, she looked basically the same to me.
Except for her dead shark eyes.
Because she had black eyes,
Shark
like a doll's eyes.
Like a doll's eyes.
But because they basically had created a fake bedroom that matched their bedroom at home. And I guess they were training this or programming this robot. And it turns around, it's got those black eyes, which there's no explanation for. And she gets up and she takes like one of her pantyhose.
They had to move the schedule ahead.
Right.
Because she was too smart. So they weren't quite ready yet.
So, and it ends, and she approaches with like she's going to strangle. And you keep waiting for her to like do something. Fade to black. Next
She's
scene,
like,
the supermarket. That's what she was. And when I think that happens sometimes in these horror movies, where just like, I got nowhere to go. There's no way I could fight. You got the kids. And did you notice, by the way, one of the kids was Mary Stuart Masterson?
No, who's Mary Stuart Masterson? I know
I
the
love
name.
it when I reference certain actors and actresses, and you're like, who? Huh? Mary, did you see Some Kind of Wonderful?
No.
Oh, for f***'s sake. Anyway,
she's the one with the bobbed hair, right?
Yes.
Okay.
She was the one who wasn't Leah Thompson. Do you know who Leah Thompson is?
I do know who Leah Thompson is. She was in Back to the Future, but I never did see Some Kind of Wonderful.
I always talk about Some Kind of Wonderful was basically Pretty in Pink, where they switched the gender roles. So instead of Molly Ringwald, you have Eric Stoltz, who's the artistic, one. But the difference is
Eric Stoltz is attractive, except when he's masked.
Except when he's wacky Dennis with mask. Although very nice person, I'm sure. In Some Kind of Wonderful, because remember, in Pretty in Pink, the original ending of Pretty in Pink, Molly Ringwald's supposed to end up with Ducky. And audiences lost their mind. They said, there is no way my Molly Ringwald is going to end up with Ducky. So they had to go back and rewrite it to have her end up with Andrew McCarthy.
Because they didn't write Ducky in a way that is attractive in any way.
Right.
I mean, you could have that same actor. It's just how they wrote it. You don't have that, oh, okay.
Right. Well, the issue is this is the nerd fantasy. I'm the little nerdy nerdy guy who's hanging out with the good-looking girl, but eventually she'll realize she's supposed to be with me. And audiences were like, she's not ending up with a little nerdy guy. Some Kind of Wonderful, they flipped it so that basically instead of ending up with Leah Thompson, he ends up with Mary Stuart Masterson. And because it was a gender swap, applaud. The weird girl ends up with the main dude, and that's cool, evidently. So
I mean,
such a flag.
of those three names, they all seem equal. Let's be straight.
Fair, but again, it's like here's the little squirrely.
Ducky was not
friend.
equal to anything,
Oh,
and
poor
it was,
Ducky.
dude, and it was how he was written. There was nothing attractive. You didn't have the deep soul or anything. No,
Well,
he just
Andrew
liked
McCarthy. Andrew McCarthy's the good-looking wealthy guy, and Ducky's the weird little dude, the little gremlin who's been hanging out with you since way back when. But that's neither here.
I say stay single. If those are your choices, stay single.
Stay single. Or James Spader's available. Steph.
Woo! Bring in
in front of the school with his shirt
Where's that
unbuttoned.
Robin, California now?
Any last thoughts about Stepford Wives, or shall we go behind the scenes?
I wrote like tons and tons of notes, but we don't need to go over it. But it's good. It's good. It's solid.
I thought it was really good. I thought it was really good. No question. Let's go behind the scenes.
Go.
Author Ira Levin was originally going to write this as a stage play until he realized there were too many characters and opted to turn it into a novel instead, which the film is based upon.
I mean, you could cut some of the characters.
You could. After the movie was released, there was a feminist demonstration against it, decrying it as being sexist. One of the protesters hit the director over the head with her umbrella.
So one of the most sexist lines is, "I'd like to watch women doing little domestic chores."
But that's said by the villain. That's not like the theme of the movie.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, but I mean, isn't it?
Well, the theme is that this is ridiculous that they would do that, in my opinion. Don't you agree? That's the
moral of the story.
100%.
Yeah.
During an interview about the film, Paula Prentice was asked if she thought secretly men wanted a perfect quote unquote wife. She replied, "The dumb ones do." Boom.
Dude, there's a lot of men out there that they would be down with this, and they're not necessarily dumb. They just don't respect women. That's just not what they're looking for. They don't like women. How about that?
The director of the movie, Brian Forbes, claims that Diane Keaton turned down the role of Joanna the night before signing her contract because her analyst got bad vibes from the script. So it was going to be Diane Keaton, which I thought would have been an interesting choice.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Well, I mean, nothing against Diane Keaton, obviously a wonderful actor, but I like the idea.
She's very quirky. She's got, Catherine has more gumption, I think.
The reason I like Diane Keaton is because I like the idea of having kind of a quote unquote normal looking housewife, right? Rather than Catherine Ross, who is a smoke show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
she and her friends walking around with their crop tops.
Totally.
I mean, they were razor sharp thin.
Totally.
They were clearly working out. Her arms are toned. She looks like an athlete. She and Paula Prentice are athletes.
That was my issue with it. They should have been normal looking. You know what I mean? Quote unquote normal looking. Like a normal woman you might see walking down the street rather than a movie star.
Well, this just tells you that you could still look like that and your husband still wants to replace you.
Fair.
Non-compliant.
Mary Stuart Masterson's film debut, playing the daughter of Catherine Ross, and her father, Peter Masterson, played her father. Look at that.
Oh, all right.
Interesting.
I thought he was not attractive enough for her, but he's an attorney, right?
He's an attorney. Well, they talked about this. How the pharmacist right? Was just some kind of little squirrely guy, and his wife was like a bombshell. And they go and visit their house to invite the wife to the women's association, whatever it is. And they're upstairs having sex, and she's screaming, "Oh, you're the master! You're the best!"
So the question is, did he hook this woman and then turned her into a robot? Or was he single and unhappy and they just made someone for him?
I think we're supposed to think that they took his wife, a normal looking lady, and turned her into this bombshell.
And nobody in town noticed that she's totally different?
These are
All right.
questions.
All right.
We talked about this. Actress Dee Wallace, who is later known for starring in several science fiction and horror films, E.T., The Howling, Cujo, Critters, etc., has one of her earliest roles playing Tina Louise's character's maid, Nettie. Boom.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Casting directors used actresses Mary Tyler Moore and Valerie Harper, aka Mary Richards and Rhoda Morgenstern, as the prototypes for the Joanna and Bobby characters.
I get the Rhoda. She's not Catherine, whatever the her last name is, not Mary Tyler Moore.
She's not. She's not. But you can definitely see that they were trying to make Paula Prentice into Rhoda.
Let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
Remember when there's a car accident at the store, and the store manager?
Yes.
He's involved in this somehow, right?
I think he was just some dude, but he called.
He was selling the town so hard. He called the ambulance, but he didn't call the ambulance, did he?
I don't know,
because he was saying don't call the ambulance. I feel like he was involved.
Oh, maybe so. Well, he's in one scene.
Didn't you get a vibe because they're like, isn't the hospital in the other direction?
They do say that. They do say that. Like this.
So they called somebody. Because inside the store, they're like, we need to call the police. And he's like, no.
Not the police, but yeah.
But yeah, and he was denying it. So he's probably got a sex farm wife too.
Everybody's involved, even the cops, right? She's going for a walk the dogs, and he's like, this is not the time.
Cops are always involved.
They are. This is not the kind of neighborhood you want to walk around in at night. And she's looking around going, really? I was in Manhattan. I know which neighborhoods I'm not supposed to walk around at night. Here we're in the country. What's the issue? But we know what the issue is.
Super weird. Super weird.
Let's talk about the cast and crew, shall we?
Let's do it.
Let's see. The director was Brian Forbes. You know him from such things as The Guns of Navarone.
I did not see that.
He was an actor in Guns of Navarone.
Well, I didn't see it anyway.
It's great. It's Gregory Peck, David Niven, Anthony Quinn.
I understand what the movie is. That is why I haven't seen it, because I do not watch war movies. Just horror movies.
He was the writer on Seance on a Wet Afternoon in 1964.
I never saw that. No, but I have heard of it.
He wrote The Whisperers in 1967.
Unfamiliar.
And he wrote The Naked Face in 1984.
Not Eyes Without a Face? Got No Human Race?
We talked about William Goldman wrote the script. You know him from Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, All the President's Men, The Princess Bride, Marathon Man, the list goes on and on.
I love Marathon Man, but I don't care for The Princess Bride.
Whoa! What's your problem?
Men get very upset about that. That's why I don't hang out with them.
It's true. Catherine Ross. I always talk about Catherine Ross because she was in huge
Butch Cassidy.
Movies. Butch Cassidy, The Graduate, and then by the mid-70s she was in
The Legacy
and The Legacy, and then that was pretty much it for poor Catherine Ross.
Maybe she just retired to have kids, as one did back in the day.
Famously,
her husband's still rocking and rolling.
Yep. Sam Elliott still doing his thing, ain't no lie.
Yep.
The Graduate 1967, Butch Cassidy, Sundance Kid 1969, Donnie Darko in 2001. That's something. and the Stepford
That's something.
Wives in 1975. Paula Prentice played Bobby. You know her from such things as Where the Boys Are in 1960, Stepford Wives in 1975, Catch 22 in 1970, The Parallax View in 1974 with Warren Beatty. All sorts of stuff.
Catherine Ross is 5'3".
There's a 7-inch difference between those two ladies. Good Lord.
You can put her in a handbag.
Absolutely. Let's see. Tina Louise played Charmaine. You know her from such things as 98 episodes of Gilligan's Island playing Ginger Grant. She was in God's Little Acre in 1958. She was in Stepford Wives in 1975 and The Warrior Empress in 1960.
The Xena Warrior Empress?
Yes, absolutely.
So what I'm hearing is Gilligan's Island did not ruin her career. Although I thought she was great in this.
She was really good in this.
Yes.
She was doing real acting. And,
Yes.
and a total fox.
There you
Foxy. Again, the women who weren't the Stepford women were like the hottest women in the movie. Strange.
Interesting, yeah.
Should we look at the ratings?
Let's go.
Stepford Wives on the Stepford Wives on Rotten Tomato currently has 55% rotten.
That doesn't make sense.
Do you know what the audience gave it?
78?
65.
No.
Ooh.
That's incorrect.
That seems
I don't know
crazy.
who this audience is.
Let's look at the top critic, shall we?
Let's
Roger
go.
Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times says, I can imagine similar material being directed by, say, Woody Allen and coming out pointed and funny. Instead, director Brian Forbes gets all solemn and spooky and goes for obvious effects like bolts of lightning and forbidding Gothic mansions. 2 out of 4. Jeez.
What the? A horror movie? Dark? That is crazy.
Pauline Kael of The New Yorker says, this dialogue is gummy. The situation's dimly functional. The movie gives the impression of a patchwork quilt, and it's blah and becalmed. Whatever that means.
The dialogue is gummy. Can someone use that in another sentence so I can understand what the hell that means?
Can't do that for you.
And I mean you.
Gummy
Joe.
And the critic for the New York Daily News, Rex Reed, says,
woo!
William Goldman, who usually writes superficial hack screenplays, has even managed to improve Ira Levin's specious, meager little book. That's a positive review from Rex Reed.
That is a positive review. He dissed the book and claimed the movie was better. That's what I heard.
And he dissed William Goldman as well.
Yeah.
He's like, he sucks too, by the way.
Specifically,
yes.
Yeah.
Now, in spite of all that, we're going to talk to our in-house movie critic, AI Rex Reed. And see
That's right. Let's compare. Let's compare.
The Stepford.
It is the Stepford Rex Reed.
It is the Stepford Rex Reed. No, that's how we should refer to him. The Stepford
100%.
Rex Reed says, Stepford Wives is a glossy suburban nightmare where feminism goes to die in a sea of blow-dried bimbots, all shot with the chilling precision of a country living photo spread.
Dude, that's pretty good.
Not
Actually, a much better review, I have to say. And no shots fired at William Goldman.
Thank you very much, Stepford Rex Reed. Aaron, what is
your Rex Reed?
That's right.
My review is it's solid. I say it's a 4 out of 4. It is the standard, which all things since have tried to rip off. Boom.
4 out of 4.
4 out of 5.
I was gonna say, good grief. I like it. I don't know if I like it that much.
4 out of 5. I wonder where I would hide so I can get away.
I agree with you. This is a 4 out of 5. This is a 4
Yeah,
out of 5. I don't know what people
solid.
should complain about. I think it's
I don't
great.
know. I
Yeah,
think people are on drugs. I don't know. Sober up,
absolutely.
people. This is a gem.
No question. I think it's great. I
Yeah,
think it's great.
100%.
No question.
100%.
I thought,
What the hell? I want Paula Prentice to be my neighbor. I want her to come
hell
over
yeah,
right now with a bottle of wine. For
absolutely.
God's sake.
She was a delight. Catherine Ross is doing real acting in this, right?
Yes.
It's it's
You
good.
have to remember, she was in Butch Cassidy. She
Love
got a
Butch
lot
Cassidy.
of she
I
got a
do.
lot of love on that. So it's
Absolutely.
not like she's a total ding dong.
No. She was in The Graduate once again. I mean, she does real shit. So you can look at this. Look, this was the 70s. People were doing what I mean, Charlton Heston was doing some shit in the 70s. Ray Milland was doing some
Omega
shit in the
Man.
70s. Absolutely. So you could look at this and be like, this is a little piece of kind of sci-fi horror. Who gives a shit? She's
No.
doing her job. No question.
I think it's relevant for today. I think
I
it's relevant for today. You got all the incels that I hear about on the news. I mean, this is what they want, right?
This is what they want. So I would recommend it. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Again, the original 1975 Stepford Wives. And frankly, it makes me want to read the
Don't be
book.
fooled.
Don't be fooled
Yeah,
by
I want to read
imitation.
the book.
Yeah.
I want to read the book now.
Those books are all they're very readable. They're, there's there's so much going on. I dig it. I'm in. Any last
All
thoughts
right.
on Stepford Wives?
No, check it out. It's dynamite. Don't be fooled.
Dynamite. I had to watch it on YouTube and it was still great. So there
I
you go.
watch it on Tubi with ads during my lunch over consecutive days at work.
There you go. Good times had by all. So thank you very much. Go to our pages across social media. We're on Blue Sky, we're on Threads, we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram. You may be watching us on YouTube at this very moment, for goodness sakes.
Maybe
You can email us, the podcast that wouldn't die, at Gmail.
Gmail.
We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere the finer podcasts are available. So don't forget to like, share, rate, and review, won't you?
Won't you please?
Aaron, what is your social media situation?
I got some media. I am on the gram. I am the cult of Aaron. Join the cult. I have some art on Artsy and First Dibs. Aaron Doherty, Instant Dreams Gallery. Check it out.
Dynamite. As you know, we like to include the thoughts and feelings of our friends across the interwebs. Aaron, what do we got?
We, in regards to our episode of Ready or Not, which, as we know, Aaron was not that thrilled with. On TikTok, Sleepy Garden Witch said legend. What's the character's name? Catherine
Grace.
is Grace is the best final girl.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I liked Ready or Not more than you did, by the way. I thought
Yes.
it was fun. It wasn't
Yes,
great.
you did.
It wasn't great. It was fine. Is all I will say.
It has that fake God, what's that fucking actress? The one that was in
It's got Samara Weaving, the false Margot Robbie.
the false Margot. I was just watching an interview with Margot Robbie about
Samara Weaving.
No, not about Samara Weaving, but about the Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh yes, yes,
good stuff.
That introduced.
I think I could hang out with Margot Robbie also. I feel like she seems like she'd be cool.
Good stuff. Next week, we're deep diving the 1975 disaster epic Airport 75. Okay, starring Charlton.
I'm sorry,
Heston.
and how is that a horror film, Kevin?
It's terrifying. They're on an airplane and the shit's going to crash into a mountain. Terror. Terror in the air.
Wings of Desire can also be upsetting, so we'll put that on the list next. If anything's a horror film now. Wings of Desire, Tempopo. I mean, that was very disturbing when they put the live shrimp in the vinegar on the girl's belly. Is anything horror now, Kevin?
Anything is horror now. Well, especially the
If-
performances in this movie. You got Charlton Heston, you got Karen Black. The list goes on and on. Now remember,
well, Karen Black, that's all you had to say.
that's all you
let's
had
be
to say.
straight.
Now remember, this is the first sequel of the airport of the airport series. You got Airport,
Not the airplane series.
not the
Let's be
airplane.
clear.
Although you will notice some similarities, if I'm being honest. The first one had Dean Martin, second one had Charlton Heston, the third one had Jack Lemmon. They just kept pumping these. They made 4 of these goddamn airport movies. We're doing Airport 75. So you can watch
Not
it.
Airport 74.
Not Airport 74. Not Airport 77. Not Airport
Where
79.
can I watch this treasure? Which is the one where the Concorde blows up? Is that Airport 82?
By then, people are like, we're good. By then, the airplane movies started coming out. They're like, I guess we can't do this anymore.
What's the one where Trump's plane that he's getting from, what is it, the Emirates or whatever, blows up and the golden toilet lands in someone's backyard? Which airport is that?
Airport 25, I guess. We'll be that one. Where can you watch Airport 75?
That's my question.
You may think you have to spend money. You don't. All of these movies are on Netflix. Boom! You're welcome. So check out Airport 75 with Charlton Heston and his jacked up hairline and crazy teeth, and you'll thank me for it. That's all.
Speaking of jacked up hairline, did you hear about Nick Cage's new role?
Is he John Madden?
Yes!
Brian,
I really want to see it. It was on the news this morning while I was like,
right. He looks out of context. I could not place him. I'm like, who is this person? He's playing John Madden, and Christian Bale is playing the coach of the or the owner of the Raiders, Al Davis. Also unrecognizable. So
sign me up.
I'm in.
Sign me up. We'll be reviewing it. It sounds like a horror show, but so we'll be reviewing it.
We'll be reviewing it. So send in your favorite scenes, favorite quotes, favorite scenes, quotes, anything else you want to say, comments and questions about Airport 75, and we may talk about it on the show. So thank you very much, and be well.
Be well, children.